It was a sluggish Wednesday morning, the kind that drags its feet through a haze of gray clouds and stale air. The sun barely bothered to show up, and the neighborhood felt trapped in that midweek limbo, too far from the weekend to spark hope, too close to Monday to feel fresh. James Carter sat on his porch, sipping lukewarm coffee that tasted like regret. His German shepherd, Rex, was the only source of entertainment, chasing his tail in a frantic, self-inflicted war. The mailbox offered no relief, just a pile of unpaid bills and junk flyers for businesses James had no use for. He stretched his legs, ready to let the day slip by, when two figures appeared at the end of his driveway, strutting with the arrogance of men who'd crowned themselves kings of a kingdom that didn't exist. The taller one, a wiry guy with a mustache so comically exaggerated it belonged in a silent film, led the charge. He clutched a leather notebook, flipping it open like it held the secrets of the universe. His partner, a stocky man with a beer gut straining against a cheap polo shirt and a Bluetooth headset glued to his ear, puffed out his chest, trying to look like he mattered. They were dressed like they'd raided a discount bin at a hardware store, cargo shorts sagging, polos clinging in all the wrong places. James barely hid his smirk. These guys were putting on a show, and he hadn't bought a ticket. The mustache guy, who introduced himself as Carl, cleared his throat with exaggerated gravitas. "Sir, you violate HOA regulations," he declared, as if reading a death sentence. James raised an eyebrow, taking a slow sip of coffee. "That's funny, 'cause I ain't part of an HOA. The stocky one, who called himself Doug, snorted, shaking his head like James was a clueless child. "Sir, we're enacting new bylaws in this neighborhood. We sent notices." James leaned back, unfazed. "Didn't get one." Carl's lips twitched in irritation. "It's your responsibility to stay informed." James exhaled, already sensing the bureaucratic nonsense piling up like a bad rash. "And what's my supposed violation?" Doug crossed his arms over his gut, smirking. "Your fence. It's too tall. Doesn't meet community guidelines." James glanced at his fence, a sturdy, freshly painted wooden structure, built to county code, standing proud along his property line. "What's wrong with it?" he asked, humoring them. "It's too tall," Doug repeated, as if stating a universal truth. James rubbed his temples, a headache brewing. "This is private property. I built it to county regs." Carl's smirk widened, his voice dripping with smugness. "County regulations don't matter. The HOA supersedes them." That was the moment it clicked. These weren't HOA officials. They were nobodies, two self-appointed tyrants who'd decided they were the law because they felt like it. James let the silence stretch, watching their smug faces, letting them think they had the upper hand. Then, with the calm of a man who'd long run out of patience for idiots, he smiled. "You're full of it." A week later, the absurdity escalated. James pulled into his driveway after a grueling day, craving a beer and some quiet with Rex at his feet. But as he approached his front door, a bright red notice screamed at him, "Eviction notice, 72 hours to comply or vacate." For a moment, he just stared, his brain wrestling with the sheer stupidity of it. Then he laughed, a deep, guttural laugh that echoed across the street. These clowns thought they could evict him from his own house. He ripped the paper off, crumpled it, and marched across the street to Carl's house, boots pounding the pavement like a war drum. A tired-looking woman answered the door, her shoulders slumping as she saw the wadded-up notice in James's hand. "Your husband home?" James asked, his voice low but firm. She sighed, calling over her shoulder. "Carl, it's for you." Carl appeared, his smirk intact, like he'd been waiting for this. James shoved the notice at him. "This is a joke?" Carl didn't flinch. "No joke. Your fence is non-compliant. Remove it, or the HOA takes legal action." James's patience frayed to a thread. "Which HOA?" Carl puffed up. "The community organization we formed." James stared, waiting for a punchline that never came. "You mean the one you made up?" Before Carl could respond, Doug waddled into view, grinning like a used car salesman. You should be grateful, sir. We're maintaining property values. James stepped closer, his voice cold. Touch my fence, and you'll meet the Second Amendment. For the first time, their smugness cracked. Carl's voice wavered. That a threat? James's smile wasn't friendly. A promise. James was a light sleeper, a habit forged from years of late-night security shifts and a healthy distrust of people. So when Rex growled low and menacing in the dead of night, James was awake instantly, every nerve on edge. The house was silent, but Rex's rigid stance, ears forward, hackles up, screamed trouble. James grabbed his phone, the screen flashing a security alert, motion detected, fence line. His blood boiled. These morons hadn't listened. He reached for his Desert Eagle, its cold weight a reassuring anchor, and moved downstairs with practiced stealth. The security monitors showed two figures by the fence, moving with purpose. Not kids, not drunks, these were grown men, one with a crowbar, the other with bolt cutters. James didn't need a clearer picture to know it was Carl and Doug. His jaw clenched. Enough was enough. He flipped on the porch light, bathing the yard in harsh white, and stepped outside, the Desert Eagle at his side. The trespassers froze, caught like roaches in a spotlight. Carl's crowbar clattered to the ground. Doug's arm shot up, his body stiff as a board. James's voice was ice. The hell you think you're doing? Silence. Carl's mouth flapped uselessly, while Doug tried a shaky smile. Hey, let's talk about this. James took a step closer, the gun glinting under the light. No need. You're trespassing, destroying property, and about to commit a break-in. The word felony hung unspoken but heavy. Carl swallowed hard, his bravado gone. We just wanted. James cut him off. Save it for the cops. He dialed 911, never breaking eye contact, his voice calm. I've got two trespassers trying to destroy my fence with tools. I'm armed, they're not. Send deputies. And check their names for other complaints. The sheriff arrived quickly, taking one look at Carl and Doug and sighing. You two again. James raised an eyebrow. Again? Turns out, these weren't just his problem. They'd been terrorizing the neighborhood, threatening an elderly couple, finding a single mom for her curtains, and bullying a veteran over fake landscaping rules. Harassment, intimidation, fraud. They'd built a fantasy HOA to strong-arm people, and now they'd picked the wrong target. 2 weeks later, James stood in the county courthouse, arms crossed, watching Carl and Doug squirm. The small courtroom, usually home to traffic disputes, was electric with tension. The judge, a sharp woman in her 60s, glared at the defendants. You impersonated officials, she snapped. You forged documents and attempted an illegal eviction. Carl, in a cheap suit, gripped the table. Doug, sweating through a too-tight jacket, bounced his leg nervously. The judge wasn't done. Your HOA is a sham, an excuse to harass and control. Frankly, it's predatory. Their lawyer, barely trying, mumbled about good intentions. The judge shut him down. Good intentions? They broke onto private property, threatened homeowners, and posted fake eviction notices. The sentence hit hard: hefty fines, community service, restraining orders barring them from James's property and others they'd harassed. The kicker? Their houses were up for sale. Their scams weren't limited to this neighborhood. They'd been shaking down others, and now they were being forced out of their perfect community. As James left the courthouse, Rex trotting beside him, he spotted Doug by the steps, looking hollow. We just wanted a nice neighborhood, he muttered. James smirked. Should have tried knocking. He walked home, past his still-standing fence, the weight of the ordeal gone. What do you think? Was James's response justified, or did he go too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear your take on this wild showdown, and what you'd do if someone tried to pull a stunt like this. Share this story, hit that like button, and let's get the debate going.